What's the deal, YouTube? It's your boy Lil Man. So look, we're gonna get right into this trade. So I'm gonna be talking about the EJ sell that I took and that I'm still currently in, right? And this is 2 hours showing you guys this real quick. So I took partials here, and I'm gonna see if the rest runs to here. So anyways, let's go to the negative chart so I can start explaining it. So let's start right here. So looking at price right here, right? What are we in, a bullish market structure or bearish market structure? Well, in the higher time frames on the daily, we're bullish, right? And we can identify that by market structure, like I just said. So we have our low high. We have our low here, and then we broke this previous high to put in a new high. Came down and put it in a new higher low after we made this high. So we have our low, high, higher low, higher high. Came back down to make another low, and then broke structure again to make a higher high, right? So this is how price is flowing currently, right? So it's a low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So we know price broke here. We know price broke here. We know price broke here, right? So we can identify price is flowing bullish, right? Higher time frame. So every time price makes a higher high, what happens in price, right? So if we look here, price, higher high. Eventually, right? I'm not going to say what happens, but eventually what happens? So price made a higher high right here. Price made a higher high right here. Let's see where price made a higher high right here, right? Because there's a high, low. High, higher low, higher high. So after price makes these higher highs, right, what happens? Well, price corrects, right? So it don't just keep going up forever, right? It comes down and corrects. So every time you see something like this, you can know this is an impulse, right? Impulse. Impulse. So price, so let's start here, right? So low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. That's how you can identify price market structure, right? But how price is flowing, it's correcting to the downside, correcting, impulse, correcting, impulse, correcting, impulse. And if you want to get even deeper, it's correcting, impulse, building liquidity, taking it out, impulse, building liquidity, taking it out, impulse, right? So that's all price is doing. That's how price moves, right? So breaking that down, I just want to break that down real quick before I book the trade, because the trade's real simple. So anyways, like I just said, what happens every time price makes a new higher high? Higher high comes down, higher high comes down, higher high comes down, higher high comes down. Even in a downtrend, lower low comes up, lower low comes up, lower low comes up, right? So it don't just fall or just keep going up forever, right? Price moves in waves, it moves in corrections and impulses, right? So anyways, like I just said, let's actually break this down now. So we had a low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then price made this new higher high, right? So after price made this new higher high, and also these highs right here are just like resting liquidity, right? So all this right here is just people waiting for price to come back up to this resistance line so they can sell, right? So what happens once they try to sell right here? Price took them out, right? If they had their stop losses right above these highs, right? So if you ever see equal lows or equal highs, think of it as liquidity, right? So there's liquidity right here. Liquidity has to get taken out in order for price to move, right? So price was down here, impulsed up. It never took liquidity out. Now it took it out, and now it's gonna move, right? So it has to take liquidity out. So there's liquidity here, so it took it out, had enough orders, and then it moved up, right? Liquidity here, took it out, had enough orders, and moved up, right? Liquidity here, had enough orders, stopped them out, had enough orders, and moved up, right? So right here is just support, just basically support lines, right? So if you had a support here, support, come back here, you're thinking it's going to go up, right? Takes them out, and they're like, oh, support's broken. Now we're going to sell. Well, now it just goes up, right? Same thing over here. People thought this was support, right? It's bouncing, it's going up, and then right when it comes here, they're probably buying again and broke it. And then right when it broke it, like, oh, it has to be selling then. So it sells, and they're trying to get in sales, and then it goes right back up, right? So it's just all about knowing where liquidity is and then knowing how to trade from it into it. But anyways, let's actually break the trade now that I'm done talking. So We had our higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. The price is moving bullish, so I'm looking for buys overall. But short term, I knew that price had to take that retracement, right? So I was just looking for the retracement down into levels that I could sell at. I mean, into levels that I can buy at, right? If I found trades anywhere. So once price was up here, I knew that, and after I saw these rejection wicks right here, I knew that price was trying to come down, right? So let's go ahead and look on the lower time frames. And let's see. So this is where all the highs were resting, right? So all those highs were looking right here. This. So they're looking like this, right? And I said, like I said, price has to take out all the liquidity in order to move, right? So as you can tell right here, price is still moving bullish, right? Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right? Price still moving bullish until here, right? So once we're looking here, we see that price took out the liquidity, right? So once price takes out the liquidity, we're like, okay, now we can start looking for sales, right? Because it took out all the liquidity. It probably has enough orders to start moving down, right? So right here, if we look close, we can see that we had liquidity right here, right? So I wasn't trying to look for sales anywhere in here, right? I knew that had to get stopped out, right? So once that got stopped out, I was just waiting to see what else could happen. So now after I was seeing this and then a break up here, I was like, okay, so now that got taken out, this is basically just a higher. So we start here low, higher high, higher low, higher high, right? So this is how I was looking at it. I was looking at high, it got broke right here to the upside. This is the low, so it's a higher high, higher low, higher high. So the range is from here to here, right? So if we break above, we're looking for more buys. We wouldn't be looking for sales on this, right? Because we're still bullish. But if we break under here, then we would be start looking for sales, right? To try to play out with this sell opportunity I'm talking about. So anyways, price did exactly that, right? So price came and broke it. So once it broke structure right here, this is where I was really looking to get into the trade, right? Because I was looking for sales from the higher time frames because we're in a higher high, right? So that's already a confluence right there. And the second confluence is the liquidity we had resting right there. So we took all that out. And the third confluence is that we're breaking structure, right? So everything is just kind of head and bearish, right? So now that I seen this higher high, higher low, higher high, I seen this get broken right here on the lower time frames. So like I said, it got broken and price closed under here on the lower time frames, right? So once price closed under here, I just identified the new trading range we was in, right? So we was in this one before. High, low, higher high. So the range was from here to here. But since this got broken right here, the new ranges, so all this buy stuff got canceled out, right? Since we're in a new range, since this got broken. So the new range is from this high to this low, right? So it's high, low, and then what are we waiting for? In a downtrend, high, low, lower high, lower low, right? Lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? So now let's hop into my charts. So, like I said, we broke this, right? So all this is just liquidity resting right here. We broke this right here. So we had a higher high, higher low, higher high. Broke it, right? Lower time frames, we broke that. So once it broke that, I was waiting for, like I said, so price is right here, right? So I was waiting for, so this is what I drew up after I seen this. I looked in lower time frames, I identified where this supply level was, right? So I just marked up this level. I knew that there was an imbalance right here, right? This from here to here. So there's an imbalance here, price could come back to fill, right? And then once it did this right here, actually once it did this right here, it started dropping. I knew that there was liquidity right here, right? So I knew that price still had to come back and take this off. And if it started dropping right here, then I was just going to miss the trade. Or I was going to wait for a new structure to start forming, right? So if price were to drop and break this right here, then I would just wait for another lower high and then lower low, right? But that's not what happened. So price came up. Oh, actually, I lied. This is what happened. Price didn't come up. So price just started building liquidity, right? Trendline liquidity right here. So this is even confirming my bias, right? So price is just, like I said, price impulses, corrections, and impulses, right? So this is the impulse. And then right here, you see our prices on the lower time frames, it'll be higher highs and higher lows. But on the higher time frames, it just looks like a correction phase, right? So it's just correcting up. And once it corrections, what happens and is done, what happens? Impulses, right? So I was just knowing that an impulse was going to happen after this. So basically we had a higher low, higher high, broke that. Liquidity formed right here and all throughout here for real. So there's a bunch of liquidity right here. Price finally took that liquidity out. And once price takes out liquidity, what happens? What I say? It has enough fuel to just think that liquidity is like putting gas into a car. So if you don't have enough liquidity or there's not enough orders, then you can't move the car, right? So now that there's enough orders, we can now move price. We can now drive the car. So now we took that liquidity out, so we can take that liquidity off. We took it out, and now we tapped into this imbalance that I was talking about also, right? So we can take that off. And we tapped into this supply level, right? Barely tapped into it, but we still tapped into it, right? So now that once we tapped into that, even though you could sell from here, and that's what I was wanting to do, I waited for more confirmation, right? So I went to the lower time frames and waited for the same thing, right? So we tapped into, also this was a lot of liquidity sitting right here, right? So these are pretty much, not gonna move that, but these are pretty much equal lows right here, right? And then once it started just keep correcting up, this is just basically a trend line, right? So I just drew this in. So this is like a liquidity trend line. So I was just waiting for it to get stopped out, right? Because people was trying to buy off one touch, two touch, and people was probably trying to buy right here, right? But since we're still in a higher time frame looking for a retracement, we're not trying to be buying, right? We're trying to be looking to sell. But even though we're still overall bullish, we're looking to sell short term, right? So basically it was a higher high, higher low, tapped into that, and it broke that. So once it broke that, I identified a new level of imbalance in liquidity, or not liquidity, a new level of imbalance in supply, right? So the new level is right here. So there's imbalance right here, and then the supply. So it hit that, and then broke. Oh, this is a new level I have marked up. I was like, what was that? But basically, so once it hit this level and it started looking like it was gonna start pushing down, this is where I got in right here, right? So I got in like right around here once price started dropping. So in a 30-minute, this would look like. So this would look like, right? Higher high, higher low, higher high, broke that. Price came, tapped in this supply imbalance level, and it started falling, right? And then it broke this structure, right? So it's a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. It broke that too. So now once price came into this new level, imbalance right here, you can't see it, and then the supply level, once it got into here and started falling, that's when I got into the sell. And now I'm gonna show you guys what my take profits look like. Cause like I said, we're still overall bullish, right? So I'm still looking to buy. I'm not gonna keep this sell forever, right? Because obviously we're not in bear structure unless things start to break down, right? Unless we start breaking lows, unless we start breaking all these, and then I will be starting to look for sales, right, to continue the trend. But for now, we're still bullish on the daily, right? So we wouldn't be looking for no buys long term. I mean, we wouldn't be looking for sales long term, right? So I was already looking for buys in this, and like I said, I was just taking this sell because I was waiting on the retracement, right? So my buys, I'm still looking at levels like. So on a higher time frame, this is how it's flowing right now, right? Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So now that we have our higher high, higher low, this is the range. We're in from this low to this high, right? So you can see I have a trader range low and a trader range high. So that just helps me identify the range we're in at the level. So we can draw our Fibonacci from here to here. If you use Fibonacci, you can tell we're at the 50 right now, right? So this is where I took partials. I'm going to explain this drop. Well, let me just explain it real quick before I even break down all that. So once I got into the trade, price immediately took out all this. And I'm going to post my Instagram stories too, because I was just what price looks like in lifetime. But anyways, price broke this trend line I was waiting for, and it immediately tapped into this demand low. Well, not immediately actually. So price took out this low, and this was probably sell side liquidity. So once it got taken out, sellers that were selling from here probably thought it was going to keep going, right? So they probably went break even or whatever. And I wasn't break even once this was happening, right? I was still, my stop loss is still up here, right? So it still looked like this. Target's right on there, right? And then once price came and hit this and then started, or once I woke up and I seen price down here, then I went broke even, right? So now I'm break even, and then I close partials here at this level because this is where a level that price could react from, right? As you can tell, it wicked up right here and then hit right here and then went straight down, right? So this is basically just taking out a lot of sellers, and it was some news too, but it just took out a lot of sellers that probably took out or went break even on this trade. But so I'm still in this trade, and I'm waiting for price to come down to this level now, since it took out this level. So I'm going to either wait for price to keep reacting right here and look for buys from this level to keep going up, or I'm going to wait for price to come down, break this, take out this liquidity, hit this imbalance in this demand level, and then for price to keep going up in the higher time frames. But that's basically what the sell looked like. So if you want me to explain it again real quick. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So price, every time it makes a higher high, it has to come down, right? So price broke this structure and all this liquidity. So there's money resting right here. Because like I said, people were placing their stop losses right here above these highs, right? And their target is probably down here, right? So what happened once price got into this level? They sold it, right? So they sold it, stop losses got hit, and then once that had enough orders and liquidity, then price moved, right? So higher high, once it made the higher high, started rejecting, took out the liquidity, higher high, higher low, higher high. Price started moving bearishly in the lower time frames too, right? So it broke this, and then there was a new level of imbalance. It hit this level of supply and fell. And then once it fell from that level of supply, I just waited for more confirmation, right? Because you can just always wait for more confirmation, more confirmation. You don't always have to try to be the first one in the trade. So, like I said, I could have been in the trade up here. I could have been in the trade right here. I was waiting for more confirmation, right? So once we got that lower time confirmation, higher high, higher low, higher high, broke, new level, new trading range right here, right? From this high to this low, price came, tapped into this. It was over to 50%, right? 50% right here. It went over it. So right when it started falling from here, that's where I got into the trade, right? And then once I got into the trade, price broke, bam, smack into the first partials, right? So this is like I'll show you in the sheets what my risk to reward was. But basically I took 4% out right here, and I was running 7% when price was right here before I took partials. I was just running 7%, and then once it hit here, I took out 4%. So I'm still running 3% right now, and I'm just going to let the rest see if it tries to run here, because it could just keep coming up from here and keep going higher. So that's why I locked in some profits just in case. But basically, yeah, that's the whole trade, and I hope you guys learned something. So I'm just going to show you guys my Google Sheets real quick. US third, on EJ. So basically, I said price broke the daily high. Actually, I'm not even going to read all that. I'm just going to show you real quick. So this is when I was about to take the trade, right? So, like I said, price had to come take out this imbalance in liquidity, hit that fill on 30-minute. So you can see this is live, right? Because it's 22.48, and this is time's going to go down, 47, 46. So this is live in the markets, right? So higher high, higher low, higher high, broke that. So once it broke that, and it came into this area of supply imbalance right here, it came into this. That's when I got into the trade right after it started falling. And this is what my stop loss looked like. It was right above this. Or actually, it was below. I don't know why I said it was way up here. It was right here, right below that. My first targets was right here at this demand level, and second target's right here. So the risk reward was a 16 total. So if I weren't to take any partials and let this whole thing just run and it hit here, it would be 16%. But since I'm taking partials off right here, I'm going to let the rest run. I'm just going to see what we end off with. But let's see how the price. I was showing you guys that I was going to take partials right here, right? So that's 6%, and the rest 16. So basically, that's what the trade looked like. I hope you guys learned something. Appreciate it.